I was born right at the beginning of the war. I'm often asked, do I remember my parents? No, I wasn't even 2 years old when they did the bravest thing anybody could do, is they left me behind. They must have known that things weren't any better where they were going, you know, what the Nazis promised. Daddy was fired from his job in 1941. So in 1942, when the final solution came about, it was not unusual for people to believe that they were actually going to get a job if they moved east. Daddy and Mother were close friends with an artist. They both circulated in the artist community. And Dolph Hankus became a very famous artist. And he worked with the resistance. So I was left with him. And because no one wanted to take a child in the backcountry, you know, the farmers were often a good place for people to be hidden. They wouldn't take a little girl who cried. Wonder why I cried. You know, I just probably didn't understand at all that Mother and Daddy weren't there anymore. So he took me home. He lived his whole life with his sister and brother, and being in the resistance, he couldn't keep me. Probably took about a month to find a family that was looking to keep a child. Mom and Pop, they were already hungry. You know, they were operating soup kitchens, getting their daily ration. Certainly couldn't keep a child on that. I was told I was a waif, already underweight. They found a family, a husband and wife, who must have lived close by, because I walked to their place around the corner or so and got a hot meal every day. These were aunts and uncles. You know, in Holland, I would be Aunt Sonja, not Miss Sonja. So I had lots of aunts and uncles. We all lived in one room, and it's odors that really bring me back. Whatever fuel we cooked on when we had some food must have been kerosene. The smell was unreal to me now. Pop was a carpenter, and so he scrounged old wood. You've heard about how people chopped down trees to, you know, and even got into furniture to try to keep warm. There was a pediatrician who did what he wasn't supposed to do either, resistance fighter in his own way, who gave me a physical when I first came to Mom and Pop, and they decided I was probably about 2 years old. I was registered as a foundling, which, except for the black hair, I could have gotten away, and they did get away with it. Nobody knew my name, nobody knew my age, nobody knew where I came from, so I was a foundling, and that's how I was registered. And that worked for a while with other families, but Nazis wondered, how come we have so many foundlings all at once? So that didn't work, and those poor kids were sent away as well. And it just breaks your heart when you think of innocent children, how frightening it is to be separated from your family, first of all, and then being in a place that's so inappropriate. Kids will ask me, were you scared during the war? Did you have to hide? You know, they hid me out in the open. That was quite a challenge. Had they been caught, you know what would have happened. Could not harbor a Jew, do anything for them. The reward for turning in a Jew was 7 guldens and 50 cents. So there were a lot of people who did that just for the sport of it, just because it wasn't them and some eventually maybe they wanted the money. In 1947, a real aunt shows up. The reason she was saved, she was a Jewish lady married to a Christian, and in Holland they hadn't attacked those relationships. And she brought some things that Mother and Daddy had hidden there, including my precious necklace. The only thing I have that personally of Mother's. So in '47, she brought these things to Mom and Pop. My birth certificate, my parents' death certificate. This is when they finally found out that I was an orphan, for sure. After the war, it was like many, many cases in Holland, probably in other countries too, where foster parents and birth parents who did come back had to fight for their kids. Didn't happen to me, of course, because nobody came back. In 1952, we emigrated to the United States. That's the first time I learned about my true name. All this time, though, I have wondered, you know, kids are perceptive. People used to stop them on the street corner, you know, acquaintances. Conversations always took the same thread. Have you heard anything? Did they come back? Are they on the list? And so I figured that these people who were pretending to be my mother and father weren't. I had no idea where Mother and Daddy didn't come back from. But I did feel that they shouldn't have left me. It was at that time in '52 that they said, you have to sign your passport and you have to sign it with this name. That is your name. So at almost 12 years old, I learned to write Clara Van Tine. And it was a very brief conversation. You belong to us now. You're never to wonder about it, talk about it, ask about it. You are Sonja, and you are ours. That intimidated me probably most of my life. I have been looking for Shifra, which is my Jewish registered name, most of my life. I was discouraged from seeing people who would probably tell me who I was, and how they got me out of the country with a different name will always be a mystery. So we immigrated and lived in New Jersey for a good many years. That's where our sponsors lived. Little did I know that our sponsors were my genetic family. Cousins. Amazing. I loved being an American teenager. I came here, I think, 5th or 6th grade, and learned English by the seat of my pants, you know. There was no English as a second language, you just learned. And I did. It was just a different kind of experience. I really enjoyed it. Mom and Pop and I never had that heart-to-heart conversation. When would we all have been ready to face the whole heritage thing? I had a right to that. I know as much as I'm going to. And that's fine. You know, the people to ask questions of that I'm burning to know have passed away. You know, they're dead. So I need to be happy with what I know. It's a general term. History repeats itself. But I do believe that people can be cruel. It's the most horrific crime that ever existed. And that's why I just need to teach 400 kids that I taught this week, 2 groups of 200. If 10 of them remember and utilize that knowledge as they're growing up, we're making a start.